a writing threshold concept is it is a concept that allows you to understand what sort of skills are transferable from one communicative context or situation to another, right? So I'll get into that in just a second. I'm going to bring up my other lecture notes, okay? Okay. All right, so before I launch into writing threshold concepts, I want to talk to you about why we're studying writing, okay? And it has a lot to do with everything I just talked about in terms of literacy and discourse and being able to get you some power in our society. I know I'm probably boring the stew out of you guys, but I promise you, if you sit and take time to learn this stuff, it will help you in the long run. So why are we studying writing? Well, to really, like I said, get at those things I just talked about in terms of literacy, discourse, and power. But also because writing is it's a blueprint for human communication, interaction, and the human condition, right? It helps us understand the ways in which we communicate in society. It helps us understand the ways in which we behave in society, right? It really is a foundational field that kind of informs every other field, right? Which is why they make you take this as a general education requirement, right? But in the field of research, in the field of writing studies, we have our own topics that we like to explore. And you have a particular topic that you will choose this semester in which you will explore as it relates to reading and writing. And just like any other field, right? It could be psychology or biology. Those are different fields that have their own particular things that they focus on. People in biology might study cell repair, right? People in psychology might study the ways in which memory works, right? People in writing might study the ways in which people revise, right? Or study the ways in which they write speeches, right? Or study the ways in which people integrate multimedia into their writing, right? So we all have our different topics in our field as well, okay? But what's so foundational about this particular field is that it helps us understand how writing works, how people write, and how it's best to learn writing. And you guys, writing forms the foundation for every society in the world. We could not function as a society without us communicating, without us drilling it down and giving it a name and giving ourselves a roadmap. We couldn't come up with laws. We couldn't come up with medicines. We couldn't come up with civil engagement, right? Coming up with solutions to problems that society faces, right? So writing is really foundational to human existence as a whole, right? The goals in writing studies is for you guys to develop a deeper understanding of what's going on in your own writing processes. Develop knowledge about writing that you can take to any other writing situation. Our goal is also to get you guys to experience research and investigating writing and the making of knowledge, right, through scholarly articles and other types of research. And that's going to be really important because that is a form of college literacy that you need to develop in order to be able to carry out the goals of other classes, right, in order to get projects done in other classes. There's a much more profound implication for learning how to research than that. But first and foremost, it's about being able to get stuff done in college, right? The more profound aspects, learning how to research teaches you how to become a healthy skeptic so that you learn to not take things at face value that you encounter on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a social media post or a song or a movie or something somebody said in a conversation, right? You learn to understand, to discern what has merit and what's more bullshit, right? And so there are a lot of different research hacks that I'm going to go over in this class that's going to help you get at those things. And so there's a lot of other profound sort of consequences or implications for your critical thinking abilities in terms of research. Our other goals is to get you guys to start to adopt a, hopefully, a radical curiosity about life. If we learn to not take things at face value and we learn to question everything, we learn to question our own answers. It's not just, college is not just about going and finding answers to our own questions, but it's about learning to question our own answers. What are the values, conclusions, thoughts, beliefs, right, even behaviors that we have acquired over the years that we think is normal, that we think is right, right? And we may think that those behaviors, values, or norms are right, but do they stand up to scrutiny, right? Do they stand up? If we were to evaluate them and look at them and interrogate them more closely, do they actually represent reality, right? So in developing sort of an insatiable curiosity, like bound by compassion, right? I'm not saying become a skeptic in which you are, a conspiracy theorist, right? That's a radical form of skepticism. I'm simply saying developing skepticism from common sense, right? Learning not to just believe every single thing that you've been taught, right? So anytime you go into a situation, you naturally say, how is that? Why is that? Is this right? Is this real? Is this true? I'm not sure. It could be, but let me do a little further investigation, right? Okay, that is probably, if you take away anything from this class, that is probably the most important skill and orientation that I would want you to come away with. Okay? Okay, so some misconceptions about writing. Okay? What you've been taught over the course of your life is probably because your English teachers sat there and told you how incorrect your grammar was and this wasn't the right idea. They taught you that English studies, that writing it's about the standards of correctness, right? How your particular ideas or voice does not hold up to the standards, the very elusive, artificial standards, contrived standards of school-based literacies, right? It's not true. It's not true, okay? It's not about correctness. It's not about grammar, okay? Grammar is something that you learn over time with practice of years and years and years and years of doing it. You're not going to learn it in one class or in multiple classes. It takes constant practice of and a natural curiosity to go out and seek out the ways in which you want to use formal grammar or the rules of formal grammar, okay? I know a lot of my ESL students might be really concerned with that. I get that. I understand that it's been sort of ingrained into you in order for you to be professional, in order for you to be taken seriously in America, that you must have standard English. Well, I'm going to tell you that I don't think I don't think that could be further from the truth, right? Yes, of course, it's going to dictate and influence the way people perceive you, but ultimately, in the long run, your critical thinking skills will outshine your ability to use grammar, okay? So the goal here is to get rid of these misconceptions that you cannot use your personal voice in writing, okay? Or that it's got to be error-free, and that is the aim. No, that couldn't be further from the truth. We want you to use your voice. We want you to empower your voice, right? We want you to not only find the things that you care about, but really be willing to speak up and speak out about those things, right? And even in more formal contexts, learning how to use your voice, or in more professional genres of writing, like the cover letter or things you have to write for work, right? Learning how to employ your voice and have that uniqueness and individuality come through a standard genre in which, everybody has to write in, right? It's what makes you stand out. It's what allows you to contribute a verse, as Walt Whitman once said. Okay? We want you to develop a new conception of writing in college, okay? Writing is research-based. It's inquiry-driven, right? It is meant for you guys to develop that really insatiable curiosity, okay? In order for you to be able to observe what you're doing in one writing situation and then transfer that to a new writing situation, okay? Also, one of the things I want you to note here is that over the time in your years in school-based literacies and other different forms of education that you've come encounter with, you've probably been taught that you can't write, right? May have come to believe that you're not a good writer, or you can't write, or it's too difficult, or I can't read, or I don't have good enough vocabulary skills. I don't have the confidence to do this. All of those conceptions are constructs, okay? Constructs just means something you've built, right? Something you've built, right? It's not definitive. It's not permanent, right? It is fleeting. It's something that you can, as much as you construct it, you can deconstruct it, right? It is valuable, and oftentimes it's an illusion, right? So the goal here is to show you that writing is not something you just have to do. It is something you can do, that you're able to, and that maybe you even want to because you have that confidence, right? We want you to see writing as a tool of agency in your own life in order to help you get your goals done and aid in connecting with other people's lives, okay? All right, so all of these goals are very lofty, and they're good, they're important, they're pragmatic too. But how do we get there? All right, well, we get there by developing a more thorough understanding of the writing threshold concepts, which I've repeated a number of times over, that are going to help you inform your understanding and your skills as you move from one writing context to the next, okay? What writing threshold concepts do for us as we understand them as a theory, okay, they help us understand how writing works for and on people, right? How it helps us address the rhetorical situation. And again, the rhetorical situation, guys, is it's your ability to assess any situation and decide which type of rhetoric you want to use. The rhetoric being the content that you're going to include and how you're going to present that content, right? The threshold concepts are meant to help us understand how we can transfer one skill set of writing from one genre, whether it's a research paper for an English class or a cover letter you're writing for a job, right? Or a text message you're sending your mom. There's commonality between all three genres there, okay? How we can move in and out of those genres employing universal skills, right? That is the concept known as transfer, okay? As we do these writing threshold concepts will help you guys transform those misconceptions or those personal constructs about your confidence and your abilities as a writers, okay? It'll help you to become more skilled in transferring your writing abilities, and you'll begin to see writing as a universal process, product, and phenomenon of intra and intercommunication, right? And what that means is intra means writing is a form of getting to know ourselves. Intra is Latin or Greek. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it's Latin or Greek for within, right? Intra-communication is the communication you have within about yourself. It's building that self-awareness, that self-knowledge, that tricky self-knowledge that helps us understand our own behaviors, why we act and think and believe and see and value the things we do in the world, right? And how we can change them when they no longer serve us. And also, writing really informs us about the ways in which it means to be human. What does it mean to be human, right? Oh, I just lost my notes. Okay. We're almost done here, guys. All right, so here are our major writing threshold concepts, and I want you to bear in mind that you guys are going to be doing a project with this in the coming week, a class collaboration project. So you want to make sure that you're starting to develop some understanding of this. All of these writing threshold concepts are in chapter 1 of Writing About Writing from Wardle and Downs, this 4th edition book, right? I am lecturing on them here. So you'll have them both in the form of lecture notes, which these lecture notes that I'm going over in this video are already in module 1. And you'll have them in the textbook as well. Okay. So major threshold concepts. First thing to know about writing. Okay. It's inquiry driven, right? It's based out of our desire to fix certain problems in our society, right? Whether it's a problem of, you know, being able to complete an assignment, or it's a problem of overcoming a particular, you know, societal issue, like how are we going to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic, right? Writing studies consists of many researchers studying the ways in which writing works in the world, okay? They're driven by curiosity, by inquiry, because in order to explore the effects of writing society, how it affects individual humans, and how in turn through writing humans can affect change in their lives and in society through writing. We're going to be looking at a list of topics here very shortly in the next couple of weeks where you guys are going to choose a particular topic as it relates to writing and the way it works in the world. Your first assignment is going to be looking at the ways writing works in the world as you build out, as you come to develop an understanding of your own writing processes, as you track your own writing moments through time over the course of a week, and then you analyze sort of that data and start to understand the ways in which writing is working for you and on you, and the ways in which your writing is working for other people and on other people, okay? And from that, you are going to hopefully carve out a particular topic as it relates to literacy, right? Reading, writing, or any other form of literacy, however you want to do it. You're going to research and write on it throughout the semester, right? But all writing is informed by questions, by seeking answers to questions, okay? Writing is also process bound. You can't just skip to the my Lou, my darling, and get to the final product stage where it's all polished and pretty without going through the first few messy stages, right? And we're actually, in fact, going to read a piece this semester known as Shitty First Drafts by Anne Lamont. And it's all about how important it is to respect that opening parts of the process where it is gut-wrenching and nerve-wracking and frustrating because you don't know what to say or what to do, and you've got this piece you've written here and you've got that piece you've written here, and you're just like, how do I connect them? I don't even know what conclusions to draw here. I don't even know where to begin, where to go, where to end, and you just feel stuck, right? That is normal. It's normal. I promise you. Okay? Here's the difference between these two. You see this painting here? These are what the opening stages of writing look like. Okay? But what happens as you allow yourself to work the process and work the stages, work your own personal writing process and move through the stages of writing, you start to work on these different pieces that you've developed, right? You keep at it. Anytime you get stuck, walk away, you come back at it, right? You begin to, you start to see how malleable the content is that you have developed here. And then as you move through these writing stages, all this crazy mess that you started with, you begin to take the different pieces of your puzzle and you pull them all into this center focus line. And then you start to develop this unified picture, this vision. And you can see from working the stages of revision, which is the most important part of the writing process. What you do at draft 1 is going to significantly differ from draft 3 even, or 4, right? And it comes to this right here, okay? Writing is identity laden, okay? It means that anything that we've done in our life has been informed by writing, and anything we are or whoever we are, our values, our beliefs, our experiences, our behaviors, all of those inform what we write, how we perceive others writing, right? What we read, how we perceive others reading, right? All of our different types of exposure and access to different types of literacies, all of them help inform the ways in which you receive information, okay, and the ways in which you convey information through your writing. Writing is very context dependent, depending on who you're talking to, where you are, what situation it is, what's the purpose for writing. What you write and how you write it is going to change based on the context. Okay, that is to say that writing is ever shifting, ever evolving, ever dynamic, changing, malleable, and it's based on whatever factors are playing in any given situation at any given time. Your purpose, your audience, and your message will all be intertwined and influence each other in terms of the making of your writing. Writing is also community oriented, okay, which is our last concept, right? Just means that writing is not an isolated activity. It's not, even if you are writing a research paper on your own, you're not involving anybody else, it's still community oriented because you are seeking out other scholars, other experts, other authors, other researchers, doctors, scientists, lawyers. You are seeking out other people that have written about this topic in order to better understand it, right? And then you were maybe perhaps responding to some of those ideas that you came across in your research. So it's always community oriented. Always. It always involves interacting with other people, and in implicit ways and in explicit ways. Okay? On any given topic in this world, especially in the 21st century, anything that we have come to understand in this society, right, has been a part of an ongoing conversation, both historically, currently, and in the future, right? Conversations that have been held by many and conversations that's been held by few. Whether it's voices calling out from history, right, or it's people working together and adding ideas in response to those who called out from history. We work together, we play together, we write together. We communicate and we understand one another, and we organize our society through and around writing. Okay, so that was a 50-minute lecture. Lots of working parts to get through. Hopefully you took some good notes. I'm going to publish this video in Canvas. I'll see if I can't connect a link to the email, and then I'm going to give you further instructions in the email that's going to explain what you'll need to do with this video and this content, and then get you prepped for our Thursday's class. But you'll need to have watched this video so that we are caught up from me having to cancel. And I again apologize for that, but it is what it is. Hopefully you guys got some value out of my ramblings today. I assure you that if you work to truly understand these writing threshold concepts, to understand the revolutionary function and purpose of writing, it's going to change your life. Thank you guys. Have a great week.